Help me welcome one of our foremost leaders in Yoruba land, a foremost historian on African history, Professor Banji Akintoye. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to everybody.
Fantastic. It's a pleasure.
I am very happy to be among you.
Very good, sir. Very good, sir. You didn't hear my editorial, and you didn't hear a lot of what I said initially, but we want...
No, I had a little bit of it, and you were just wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Let me start this way. A few days ago, I spoke with some 5 young men, an undergraduate, one youth corper in my environment. All of them were learned young men. And I asked them if they knew about Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Yes, they have heard his name, but they knew nothing about him. I was shocked. I was shocked to my marrow. And that forms the basis for this morning's conversation. So, sir, tell us, are you surprised first that these young men knew nothing about Chief Obafemi Awolowo? And what does that make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel, it gives me a strong determination to make Chief Obafemi Awolowo known to this generation. And I have been doing that in my conduct. In my struggle for the Yoruba nation today, I am doing what I believe that my father, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, would expect me to do.
Okay.
And
go on.
As if it's confirmation, I dream about him now almost every night.
Wow. Tell us, what sort of, because at the time you met him, you were a young man. He must also have been a young man, because you're about to celebrate your 90th, and he was older than you, So he too must have been a young man. What made you gravitate to Chief Obafemi Awolowo? What was it that made you to gravitate to him? Tell us about him as a young man.
Yes, I have been hearing about him before I left home and came to the University College in Ibadan in 1956. I had heard a lot about him. Free education had started when I was in Christ School, and we were talking all about him. Then I had met him in 1955 when he came to a meeting of the Ogboni fraternity in Ado-Ekiti, and they walked through the streets, and he was right in the front. And he came later to the university, to the library of Christ School. I was a librarian. I was a school librarian. And that's when I first shook hands with him, and he hugged me. And he has kept hugging me ever since. A year later, I was admitted to the University College of Ibadan. And I decided to visit him in his house in Okeado, or is it Okebola, whatever, that junction Okebola and Okeado. And I became his son, and he became my father. He has been my father ever since.
Wow. And
I have been his son ever since. The thing about Chief Awolowo is that he was a very unique kind of person. He had this wonderful determination to make our people, to show to the world that our people are not inferior to the white man at all. That whatever the white man has achieved, we can achieve in shorter time than they. And he wanted to show that through the life of the Western region. And if possible, if possible, also through the life of Nigeria. And he went at it with a dedication that is almost superhuman. So I went to see him. And when the 1959 elections came, that's when I came closer to him. Because I could see that the British colonial power officials were doing everything to rig the election against him. He was running the most stupendous election campaign in the country. And sometimes he was so wonderful. His campaign was so wonderful that the other parties looked as if they were stupefied, as if they didn't understand what he was doing. Helicopters, aeroplanes in there, writing the palm tree, the symbol of his party in the sky. And with the whole population of Nigeria wondering, if this man should become our ruler, what kind of country is he going to give to us? Look at what he has done in the Western region. But the British were determined that he would not rule Nigeria. Why? Because they were afraid of him. One of them has written a memoir since then. One of these British officials has written the memoir there since then. He said the Governor General called us and told us, the Governor General called me because I had been grumbling among the officials that what we were doing was wrong, that it was immoral. We were twisting this election for the Northerners and against this man who appears to be the best citizen of this country. And then the Governor General called me to his office one morning and said, Smith, his name is Harold Smith. Smith, you have a problem, or you have some problems. The first problem you have is that I hear you've been grumbling that we want to rig this election for the Northerners. Yes, we want to rig it for the Northerners. That's what we were sent here to do. That's what we were ordered to do from home. So your grumbling is confirmed. You are right. We are trying to rig the election for the Northerners. But then you have another problem. And that other problem is that I am here now appointing you to be the coordinator of the covert operation to rig the election for the North. I appoint you the coordinator of the rigging of the election for the North. There was a young man who had just graduated out of Oxford University. He said, when I left his office, I couldn't say no, sir. But when I left his office, my feeling was of rebellion. I wanted to run away to somewhere in Asia, so where the British would never be able to find me. But I knew that the British Empire is very powerful in the world. They would find me and probably totally brutalize or even kill me. So I surrendered and I led the operation. We did everything to make sure that the Northerners would become the rulers of Nigeria. When we found that they were not likely to make it to a full majority in the House, we twisted Azikwe's hand to join with the Northerners. Azikwe was slightly inclined to work with Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The two of them had enough majority to form the government of Nigeria. But we were determined that Azikwe would not join Awolowo. So the Northerners were made the rulers of Nigeria with Dr. Azikwe as some sort of ballast to keep them in there.
Okay, sir. Prof, because we don't want to discuss. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, so
This
I'm
is a
telling
good
the story
background.
of how
No,
yeah,
very interesting
I'm telling
story.
yeah.
Uh,
So I'm telling the story of how I came close to Chief
oh,
Awolowo. So
okay.
when all these things were happening, we undergraduates. I was an undergraduate. I have been an undergraduate since 1956. So we undergraduates began to wonder, especially Yoruba boys and girls in the university, begin to wonder, wow, what are they doing to this man? So we got together, 5 of us, started it, formed the Action Group Students Association with the oldest of us, Biodun Falade from Osogbo as our chairman and me as his vice chairman. And we started to rally students. And very soon we had a very large crowd of members. That's how I came close to Chief Awolowo.
Tell us, sir. What was it about him? What was it about him really that attracted so many people, like bees to nectar? And he was a young man. And beyond even you, there was a huge movement in the West at the time. What was the attraction? He was not a known scholar. He was not a known, what is it? I don't know. What was it about him? We learned he was just a modest, simple, not a great orator, was even an orator. What was the attraction with him that everybody gravitated towards him?
It's the attraction in him was his almost superhuman dedication to the well-being of our people. Total surrender of himself to fighting for the well-being of our people.
How did he demonstrate this? How did he show this? How did he show this
Everything,
in his life?
Everything. He ran the best government on the African continent, the best government that modern Africa had ever seen. A government that could achieve a lot more than the British or the French could do in any country. Yeah. So you can go on and count it all. He started by making personal friends with our cocoa farmers. And he gave them so much courage and confidence that they became the most productive African farmers on the African continent. And he set up a system of cocoa export that no other government, any country in Africa could have done for any product. And so that's it. The farmers became the founders of the resources for the development of our region. And also the creators of the largest amount of foreign exchange for the country called Nigeria. Yeah. We reached a point that the Western region was lending money to the federal government.
Wow.
Yeah, and on a few occasions, the Western region actually gave grants, not loans, grants for the federal government. The man was unbelievable.
Where did he get all of these ideas and vision and strategy and the broadness of knowledge? Where did he get all of this? How did he work?
We used to ask him when we were older, when I was already a university professor and so on in 1970s, when he gathered us together, came to Ife and told us what he was going to do, and we all rallied around him. We used to ask him in moments of relaxation, like we are having dinner together, we used to ask him, Papa, we have the budgets of your government of the 1950s in our libraries. And we look at it, the amount of money you are dealing with was small. It's not like today when there are billions or trillions of naira. No, you are dealing with a few millions of pounds, and you achieved all those wonderful things. How did you do it? And then he would answer us with a Yoruba proverb. Enyomo, ohun tó bá wù ní ló ń pọ̀ lọ́la ẹni. Ológun ẹrú kú, aṣọ ẹ̀jẹ̀ kan ṣoṣo. I repeat it. Ohun tó bá wù ní ló ń pọ̀ lọ́la ẹni. Ológun ẹrú kú, aṣọ ẹ̀jẹ̀ kan ṣoṣo.
For the benefit of our global, for the benefit of our global audience.
They came to me and said,
for the benefit of our global audience. You explained that, sir.
Yeah. Well, it means it is that thing that you desire the most that will be uppermost in your wealth. It is that thing that desires the most that will be uppermost in your wealth. And what he desires, so he will follow up and say, what I desired most was that this Yoruba people, the Western region at the time, it doesn't matter, they brought other people along with us, it didn't matter. But the Yoruba were the overwhelming majority there. I know that the Yoruba were great people before the white man came. I had seen something of the Yoruba cultural nationalist movement of the 1890s and the beginning of the 20th century. And I knew we were a great people. I don't know much of history, but I knew that we Yoruba were a great people. So my desire was to make sure that the Yoruba become a great people again in the modern world. That was it. So when I became premier, the civil servants came and said, we want to build a premier's lodge. So I told them, no, I don't need a premier's lodge. I live in this house, my own house in Okeado. Is it not a good place enough for me to rule from, as we are premier from? So I don't go and spend our money building a premier's lodge for me. I don't need a premier's lodge. So the civil servants were puzzled. What kind of man is this? And they went back. I came back a few weeks later and said to me, now we are not going to build a whole house. We will renovate one of the former colonial houses, and that will become the premier. So I told them, leave this thing alone. Don't spend our money renovating anything. We need money for a lot of things in this region. Let us spend, I am going to spend every penny of our money on developing the Western region. I don't need anything for myself. Don't think about me. When you compare that with today, you almost shed tears. You know, you almost wish, you almost ask God, why must we die? Why can't a man like Awolowo live forever and lead us forever? Yeah, he was a very, very, very unique man. He wanted the people of, he said, I wanted the Yoruba people to be proud of themselves. So I did things that even surprised the colonial government, that they told me could not be done. When we announced the free education for all children of school age, we were working on the statistics of the number of children given to us by the British colonial government. But when the kids began to pour out of their families, out of their parents' homes, to come to school, we found immediately that morning, that very first morning, that the statistics were nothing. They were wrong. There were many, many more children than the statistics told us existed. In every single school across the Western region, the children overwhelmed the teachers. They didn't know what to do with them. And so a number of pundits began to advise me, Premier, let us suspend this thing and start all over again maybe a few years later. So I said, no, we have started. The kids have come to school and they are not going to go back home. So I announced, register every child who has shown up. They have become your students and they are not going back. And so the children were registered. But then we had a problem. There were not enough classrooms for them.
We are enjoying your story, sir. No, it is fine. It is fine. We are following. We are following. We could hear you clearly and we can see you. So just go on, sir. Now it's gone. Yes, we have been having a conversation with Professor Banji Akintoye. Incredible insight into the person and the personality of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He's back. Okay, welcome back, sir. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
We can see you clearly. We can hear you clearly.
So they told me, they advised me strongly. The advice was coming from all directions. Suspend this free education thing. We are not ready for it. We are not able to do it. I said, no, we are ready for it and we are able to do it. So I ordered that the children who have come out must all be registered. Then they were all registered. And then we had a big problem. We had not enough classrooms for them. We had not enough teachers for them. And so in the next few days, I was literally living in my office in the secretariat, fighting the problem. I said to some schools, you don't have any classroom for them? Gather them together under a tree or put together a shed and teach them. That's it. That's the kind of man. That's the kind of man that we had. Don't send any child back home, and no child was sent back home. All of those who came out of their mother's houses to come and attend school, attended school. Unbelievable man. Then
I hear a story. There's a story, sir. Maybe you know what this will lead us to. There's a story of he sending you out to another country to go and study something about a sector or something like that. How did he do some of those things? Personally, sending officials to different parts of the world to get the best form of training and education and so on.
Yeah, the best of ideas for the development. We were focused on developing Nigeria.
Very good.
Papa came out of Calabar prison. That's another story. That's one of the, And then General Gawan asked him to come and please help to fight the war. the Civil War and went and became Minister for Finance and the coordinator of the economy. And he did an unbelievable job. Countries that fight wars always end up borrowing money from other countries to fight the war. Nigeria, under the leadership of Chief Awolowo, is the only country known in the history of the modern world that fought a war for 30 months and didn't need to borrow a dime from anywhere. It was awesome. So when he came out and they came to talk to us in Ife to say, come and join me, my son. I want you, we can build Nigeria. We can make Nigeria a great country. And that's when he began to send us to different places. I became the center, the foremost person being sent here and there. I was sent to Brazil because Brazil had a story then of a program of a linkage between agriculture and industry. And they were creating factories and they were producing all sorts of products from agricultural products that they were sending abroad. They were selling abroad and making a lot of wealth from. So Papa wanted me to go and see. I went to see. Actually, I went to Brazil twice. On the second occasion when I went to Brazil, I had traveled around and seen what Papa wanted me to see. I had every night I sat down and wrote my report, and my report was ready. So the day I was returning to Nigeria, this is a story that I'm sure that younger people would like to hear. I should just have come, but I wanted to hear Papa's voice. So I phoned Papa. Papa, I am done here. Your report, Banji, your report is ready. Yes, my report is ready, Papa. Okay. So I'm flying from here tomorrow. I'll be getting to Lagos the day after. Oh, he said, good. Have a smooth flight, Banji. I will be expecting you in Lagos. I said, thank you, Papa. Then as I was about to turn on the phone, he said, no, hold on, Banji. Do you remember this conference on small industries? The development of small industries that is taking place in a town called Anaheim in California? We decided that we should attend that conference and get the report. Your big brother, Sam Aluko, has already gone there. It flew out 2 days ago. The conference is happening 3 days from now. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a second report apart from Sam's report? Banji, could you possibly go to attend that conference in Anaheim in California? Could you go and attend that conference in California? I had a problem. I hesitated a little. What was the problem? I had no money to do a thing like that. I was on the east coast of Brazil. I would fly to the east coast of the United States and fly back home. But what Papa was telling me to do that morning was that I should first of all go to California on the Pacific coast of the United States, attend the conference, and then fly back to the East Coast. And so I didn't have the money for that kind of thing. But we were not used to say no to Papa, because we knew that he would make any sacrifice. He would make any sacrifice for the progress of our country. So I stammered and said, yes, Papa. Okay, Papa. He said, good, that's my boy. So see you when you come back after the conference. Call me when the conference is over. So I had a problem. How do I get to Anaheim in California, the Pacific coast of America. I had no money. I just had my flight ticket in my hand and a few pennies, and that's all. But then I had to think very fast. I had been visiting professor for some time before, in 1972-73, in a university in Florida. So I called my friends in that university. I have many friends there. There was one of them who was, in fact, much older than myself and treated me like a son, Professor Charles Anade. So I called Charles. He said, Benji, where are you calling from? I said, I'm calling from Brazil and I have a problem. What's your problem? What are you doing in Brazil? I said, you know, our leader sent me to go and find out some things in Brazil. I have found out and I want to return home, but he has asked me to go to attend the World Small Business Conference in Anaheim in California. Oh, and he said, how are you going to do that? I said, that's it. I need help to be able to get to Anaheim and get back to New York, to fly back home. He said, can you get to us here in Tampa? I said, yes, I can. I will fly to Miami and then take the train from Miami across the Florida, across Florida to Tampa. He said, okay, we'll pick you up at the train station. Just call me when you come. We will try and get you to Anaheim. I said, thank you, sir. So I flew to Miami the next morning, and then from there, took the train to Tampa, Florida. And Charles and his wife picked me up at the train station. And before the end of the day, we had put enough money together, and he took me to the airport and bought a ticket. And I flew to Anaheim. But I couldn't ask for any more help than that, but I needed more help. So when I arrived in Anaheim, I called a historian like myself, and Juanita. Juanita was married to a millionaire called St. John. And I called them. And she said, okay, we'll pick you up where are you? I said, I'm stuck at the airport. She said, I will pick you up from there. And they picked me up and took me to their house. And I was able to attend the conference and write my report. That's the kind of thing we would do for. In 1976, I was going to present a paper in a seminar in the University of Hong Kong. And Papa said to me, after Hong Kong, where are you going? I said, I am going after that to Manila, Philippines, for another conference, another academic conference. And he said, okay, you are going to write a report about the rice development program in Manila, Philippines. I said, okay, Papa. And yes, I will write the report. He said, but in addition, do you think you can hop to Singapore, about which the world is saying so much beautiful things today? They had started as one of the poorest islands in the world in 1965. But by now, in 1976, they are one of the most prosperous economies in the world. How did they do it? They said there is a man there called Liu Hyun-yu. I said, okay, I know about them. Do you want to go there for us? I said, I will go there, Baba. So I went to Hong Kong, presented my paper at the conference, at the seminar there, and then went to this bigger conference in Manila, Philippines, and then stayed behind to go around to learn about the rice development in the Philippines. Awesome. It was, and I wrote reports and collected documents and brought them along with me. Then I flew to Hong Kong. I flew to Singapore, and it was amazing. They had the secret of the success of Singapore was mobilization of the youths. In 1965, Singapore had been a poor country, a poor state in the Federation of Malaysia, but it had been a very, very poor province. They have no land for agriculture. They have no forest resources. Even the water they were drinking on the island was piped from the mainland, from other states in the mainland. And their youths were terrible. Unemployed in their large numbers. They were constantly rioting in the streets. Finally, in 1965, they had rioted continuously for 3 months. And all the resources, all the security resources of Malaysia had gone there, but they had not succeeded in getting these young people to stop. So the Prime Minister of Malaysia, of the Federation of Malaysia, went to the parliament in Kuala Lumpur and said to the parliament, we in this country do not have the resources to cope with the problems of Singapore. And so what I propose is that we should let Singapore go away and go find solution to their own problems. I'm proposing that we liberate Singapore to become a separate country. And the parliament accepted his proposal. And Singapore suddenly became a country without any preparation, without any resources, with the youth rioting in the streets. The man who was to inform the people of Singapore that is what had happened to them, they had been kicked out of Malaysia. Lee Lu Han Yu was a lawyer, British trained lawyer. When he was announcing to his people, he was sobbing. He was sobbing. Everybody heard him sobbing. Said, today is a day of anguish for Singapore and for me. And yet, and then they gathered together. He gathered his people around him, the politicians who had been practicing politics and using thugs very much like Nigeria. Thugs, people organizing thugs and fighting political parties and so on. They abandoned all those political parties and came together as a team. As a team, all the political leaders came together as one single team and worked together under Lee Kuan Yew. And he proposed to them, we have no resources. The only resources we have are our youth. They are rioting in the streets. But it is they who will develop this country. And so they put together a marvelous program of youth development. Skills acquisition for every child. Funds for any child who, after acquiring some skills, wanted to start a business. Loans for them, low interest loans, or sometimes even grants. Training in decent relations If a company appoints you, employs you, you become the face of that country in the society, and you must represent them proudly. You must cooperate with your managers to make sure that the company succeeds. For Singapore, that's what he did. And the youth went and learned the skills from the smallest kind of skill, like hair making by women or automobile repairs and things, to higher occupations. And then Singapore became a country that was highly desired by investors from all over the world. You take your investment there, if you succeed. The young people there are dedicated to their employers. They will make sure you succeed. So investments began to rush to Singapore. By 1975, 10 years later, by 1976, 11 years later, when I was planning to go to Hong Kong, Singapore had become the roaring noise in the world. Singapore. Asia's success story. They used to call them. Singapore became known as Asia's success story. And Papa wanted me to go and see. How did that happen? And I spent many days in Singapore talking to people, to young people, to teachers, to politicians, to everybody. And I wrote my report. I came back home. That's the kind of life that Papa made us live.
Wow. Professor.
Yeah.
Let us go on a short break. When we come back, we will start to dream now. I want you to start to dream now. You have given us, I wish we had a lot of time, but you have given us enough to chew from the past. I want us to now start to dream into the future. So I want you to help us now, sir, considering where we are. Just very briefly, what if we are Chief Obafemi Awolowo to be alive today? I know he would weep at where Nigeria, where we are now in Nigeria. He would weep like all of us are weeping. But as you described, from the man that you described, he is somebody that will not give up, that will provide solutions and so on and so forth. What would he have done now? Would he surrender? Would he what? I don't know. Just very briefly, we don't want to go into the political realm. We want to go into the nature of the man and the sort of things that he would do. As much as possible, we want to get away from religion, ethnicity, and all of that. But as a nationalist, what do you think he would have done were he to be alive today? Professor Banji Akintoye.
Yeah, the first thing that our Papa would do is to get to understand deeply what is this disaster that has befallen Nigeria? What is the foundation of it? What is the root of it? How have we come this way? He's not the kind of person who will jump into the fight without understanding what he was after. And he would have decided what should be done. I have no doubt that if Papa were alive today and studying the situation as it is in Nigeria, I have no doubt that he would be doing what I'm doing now, trying to pull the Yoruba nation out of the disaster.
Well, we won't go into that now.
That is what my father Awolowo would be doing now. Okay. Doing what I'm doing now.
Okay.
I live today in the perpetual assurance that I'm doing what he would expect me to be doing.
Very good.
That if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to face him
Okay.
in the afterlife.
Okay, let's go back to the future. Let's go back to the future, which is the title of today's program, because we are learning from the past. We are taking from the past to go into the future. And we are looking at the present situation where we have young people that do not even know most of what you said today about the person of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and you painted for us a past that was glorious. We were in the process, on the journey to become a great country as one. And
Absolutely.
and Papa Awolowo was part of the liberal nature of the Yoruba that embraced and embraces everybody. The Yoruba man is a very liberal person. And he was part of those that fought for the unity of Nigeria. We must not forget that. So even as we draw from the past, what lessons can we take from the leadership that Chief Obafemi Awolowo provided at that time for our own leaders today? For our leaders today, what can we draw from the leadership provided by Chief Awolowo and his group? Because there are others also of that generation that used Obafemi Awolowo as a benchmark to develop their areas, to set up institutions, and so on and so forth. How can the leadership of today learn from that kind of leadership of the past?
Yes. The first thing really is our leaders need to sit down instead of just jumping into politics, because politics is where to make money. Our leaders, old and young, need to step out, first of all, to understand what is happening. Nigeria has a peculiarity. Nigeria is the only country in the modern world that has belonged to the ranks of the largest producers of petroleum in the world, and that has ended up being poor. Nigeria is the only example of a country that has produced a lot of the world's energy, petroleum. That was one of the biggest earners of revenues from petroleum for many years, and that has somehow ended up as a poor country, where the people are viciously hungry, where the roads are dilapidated, where the schools are falling to pieces, where millions of young people are not going to school. Where even in the Western region, where all children used to go to school, large numbers of out-of-school children now confront us in the streets. Why? Why? Some people think, oh, it's change the system, or change the ruler, elect another person and make him. No, that's not the answer. The answer is that Nigeria is unworkable. It's impossible to build Nigeria. All those people who are saying, oh, regionalism, they are talking trash. They are not studying the situation, the fundamentals of the situation. They are playing politics. The situation as it is does not allow for politics. It allows for hard-headed realism. It is impossible to build Nigeria into a unified, progressive, and prosperous country. It is impossible.
Okay, sir. Let me ask you, just before I lose the trend of my thoughts, sir. Let me ask you.
Just one little bit more. Just one little bit more. When we put together under our father, Awolowo, the ideas for the Unity Party of Nigeria, we were sure that we were going to build the black man's world power of modern times. That's what young intellectuals like me used to say. We used to brag. We are on the way to building the black man's world power of modern times. The black man's world power of modern times. We had the resources to do it. Nigeria had the resources to do it, to get it done. And so we were sure we were going to, and we were ready to fight and get it done. Papa once said to us in a meeting of a committee where I was chairman, Papa came and knocked the door. We were holding this meeting behind us. Papa came and knocked the door and came in and greeted us and went. That was about 11 o'clock. Then about 2:30, he came back and entered again and said, they've prepared for lunch for you. When you didn't come for it, they brought it to your door. It's on the table outside your door. So we thanked him and so then he looked at us and said, wow. If we are given a chance to lead this country, if we get a chance to lead this country, we are all going to work until it hurts. I can see we are ready to work until it hurts. We are going to work until it hurts.
But can I ask you, Papa? Can I ask you this question now? Can I ask you this question? I'm a Yoruba. I come from that land that Baba Awolowo built. That is Western Nigeria, which comprises the southwest of Nigeria today. Okay, leave every other part. Let us look at that land where he built and the generations he built. Look at that southwest. Even the southwest itself does not think as one, does not do anything as one, is as dilapidated as every other part. So what even in the southwest, with the small resources there that Baba Awolowo deployed to build the West at that time, the place still exists, leaders still exist. So what is the Southwest doing? Now I'm talking of the Southwest. What is the Southwest doing?
The Southwest, the Yoruba nation is perishing in Nigeria.
You can't blame anybody for that but the Yoruba.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm describing a reality.
Very good, sir. So let's talk about it now.
The Yoruba nation in Nigeria is perishing, is disintegrating. Everybody has been pushed into a mindset that makes them look only for their own welfare and care little or nothing about the society around them. We have elite and we are rich in people. We are the richest people on the African continent when it comes to highly educated people. I was talking to a Tanzanian young man the other day and I said, we don't have lawyers. He laughed. He said, Baba, why you say a thing like that? The whole world knows that more than 50% of the lawyers on the African continent are Yoruba people. You are saying you don't have lawyers? Yeah. It's there is the story of the Egungun Kantomanja, I think in Ila or Okela. Beautiful costumes, and large numbers of people will follow as he walked majestically down the street. And then he will get to a point and stop and say, you see me? I have a lot of people. Eropa, ṣùgbọ́n kò séèyàn. Èrò mi pọ̀, ṣùgbọ́n kò séèyàn. Yeah. we have the men, we have the highly educated men. They are some of the best educated minds in the world. But they don't look, they have been bred in the Nigerian mentality. They don't look at what is happening around them. They don't look at what is happening to the nation that brought them into the world. God didn't make a mistake. He made you a Yoruba man, made me a Yoruba man, he made other people Igbo man, he made other people Hausa man, he made other people Fulani man. What is happening to your own little group that God created and put you in as a member of? What is happening to it? Your Yoruba nation is perishing in Nigeria. In the past 15 years, an estimated 11 million of the best educated Yoruba boys and girls have fled the country and are living and blessing the economies of other countries in the world. 11 million and more. Today, as a result of the attacks on our farms and so on, most of our farmers have abandoned farming altogether. And many of them are coming with their families to Benin Republic, where I live. Many of our youths are committing suicide. Our nation is breaking up. Large numbers of our young people, they form the majority of people trying to cross the Sahara Desert to get to the Mediterranean coast and then go over the Mediterranean to Southern Europe. And many of them are perishing in the desert and in the sea. Some years ago, a ship on the Mediterranean Sea got the alarm that a boat carrying some migrants had broken up in the sea, and the people had sunk and died and drowned. And the ship went that direction and found them. Scooped 26 young women out of the sea. They had died, but the bags, the school bags they were carrying on their backs, they didn't let them sink. So they were able to pick them up and take their bodies to one village on the coast of Italy. And when the forensic identification was done, they were found to be all Yoruba girl university graduates. Listen, people, and the story goes on even now. Some 3 weeks ago, a large boat carrying more than 400 people sank, perished in the Mediterranean, and large numbers of the people on that boat were Yoruba. The Yoruba nation is breaking up. And people sit there talking about regionalism. No.
Well, Prof.
What we need now is to take our people and run and separate ourselves and begin to govern ourselves the way we Yoruba know how to do, the way Obafemi Awolowo led us in the 1960s. That's what is needed now. It's not politics. This is not Nigerian politics. I have no quarrel. I will raise as a thoroughbred Yoruba man. We don't hate other people. Yoruba people don't hate anybody. It is not in our gene to hate any other group of people in the world. So when some of us are saying, let's take our people and separate so we can, it is not out of hatred of anybody. It is because we are responding sensibly to the realities of the moment. Our Yoruba nation is perishing in Nigeria.
Okay.
It's breaking up.
Okay.
And we need to do something about that urgently.
All right, sir.
That's the truth.
Prof, We have actually gone almost 10 minutes beyond our time. We have been enthralled by your contributions this morning. I want to thank you on behalf of all those that have listened in to this program this morning. It wasn't intended to be a political, ethnic, or religious conversation. It was intended to be, and it is, a recall of the greatness of a man who represents the best version of leadership in Nigeria. One of those who provided and established institutions and people that made Nigeria or parts of Nigeria at that time one that...
Forgive my interrupting you here.
All right, sir.
Do any of our young people know that when our father gave us television in Ibadan, in the Yoruba land, in the Western region, many countries in Europe had not had television.
I told them this morning.
Yeah, many countries of Europe did not have television at all.
I told them this morning. I told them about Liberty Stadium, the first stadium in Africa. And it came
in Africa.
And that stadium had facilities that you will find in modern day stadia in Europe today. That standard.
The very best.
And it hosted a world boxing championship that was covered by WNTV when nobody thought of that kind of a thing. So we said those things this morning, sir. So once again,
and then we created the Western Region Development Corporation.
Yes, so many things. So
conglomeration of investment capital ever in the history of Africa.
Well, that's
with interest in industries, in banking, in real estate, and so on.
Professor Banji Akintoye, thank you very, very much for bringing alive the person and personality of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. People should go and read up about him because he is a model of industry, of leadership, of modesty, of humility, of service,
of love of his people,
of service to his people, and of
service
and of humanity.
Yes.
So our leaders can take lessons. Our leaders can take lessons. Our young aspiring leaders can take lessons from the life of Chief Obafemi Awolowo.